Welcome to my second coaching video. If you didn't catch my first coaching video, you can find it probably below here. I'll include a link to it when I post the video. The first coaching video I did was of a gold jungle main playing Wukong. This video is going to be on a gold support main Morgana. And what I did this time that was different from the other time is now I actually have a spectator in here as well as the person doing the replay. So we have two people in the Skype call, and I do a giveaway for it. I do the giveaway on my stream as well as on my Facebook. You can find it at facebook.com/Valkrin or my stream, twitch.tv/Valkrin. Both of those places are places where I give away my coaching lessons. And I'm doing a bronze to platinum series where I go through each individual role in each bracket of play. So I'm going through gold now, and I'm going to decide if I go down to silver or up to platinum according to what people want. So this one is on a gold Morgana support main. I guess he doesn't main Morgana support, but he was playing Morgana this game, and he is a support main. So the main things you can glean from this video, it's a long one, it's an hour and a half, and I'll have like the main points and the link below and the details where you can kind of skim through it and look at the points where, you know, the main summary points if you don't have time to watch the entire video. Enjoy, guys. Don't forget to follow my Facebook and stream if you want to participate in my coaching. See ya. Okay, so you're playing Morgana support this game. Now, what I typically like to do in Morgana support is I actually run a much heavier AP page than a lot of other supports that I run, because she's got decent AP ratios on her binding early on, and that can translate into a lot of early damage. So yeah, I will go the traditional Spell Thieves build, AP Quints, Magic Resist Marks. For seals, I either go health or a mixture of armor and health. And for glyphs, I usually go Magic Resist, but it really does depend on the matchup bottom. But yeah, those are the runes I typically use. What are your rune setups, Philip?
My runes are very defensive. I have armor quints, have red, yellows, MR blues, and hybrid and reds.
Okay.
So that's my setup.
That's definitely a much more defensive setup. And the first thing I noticed is you guys are going to be against a Nidalee support and a Caitlyn. So the great thing about having, like, well, another thing is if you're going to be a support main or you're going to devote a lot of time to playing support, you should have like kind of 2 or 3 pages that you can go to for the supports that you usually play. Like for Morgana, I would say it's totally okay to have a rune page more oriented towards survivability. But when you're against something like a Nidalee bottom lane as a support, you would want a more offensive based build, because if you ever hit a binding on her early game, that should translate into a kill. And you want the most offensive power that you can, while still being support, of course. Like I would go 21 utility and 9 offense, but having that offensive power early game is going to be really helpful against squishy, really squishy lane matchups. Same thing, Morgana versus Nami. If you ever hit a binding on her early game, that most of the time will translate into a kill.
Yeah. I actually run 4-4-22 Masteries in this game.
4-4-22. Okay. That's interesting.
With CDR in offense and the defense.
Why the 4 in the defense? What do you get in the defense tree?
Health rack and the block. So less damage from auto attack because it's just good in the bot lane.
Yeah. Okay, so when you guys first get to lane, the first thing I noticed is you have a very offensive postured position, and I'll go back and rewatch it because I wanted to see it first before I started to comment on like what was happening. So you guys leashed at your blue. This is the first thing. The first thing you should be thinking about bottom lane, and this is something that in lower brackets of play, it is very uncommon to really get into this mindset. But the team that doesn't leash bottom lane will have an innate advantage. So if you guys were to have to leash and the enemy team didn't leash and they were in lane at level 1 already pushing, they would have an advantage, because the first group of people that hit level 2 bottom lane will typically have control of the lane for majority of the laning phase until jungle ganks start happening. But the first thing that should be through your mind is, did they leash, did they not leash? You're going to be looking for their positioning coming out of that, and I think you saw them come through here, and they're kind of out of position. This is like a weird situation. Like you will briefly see Nidalee pop up I actually want to change it so we have your vision. So you guys see Nidalee out of position for a second, but you don't quite see the Caitlyn. Whenever you see a squishy support out of position like that, you should try to go for the binding, but it should be more for zoning, not for all-inning, because you don't want your Caitlyn, or you don't want your AD carry to have to leave to actually trade with this. So in a situation like this, if you were to hit the binding on the Nidalee, you wouldn't want Jinx to go in for the play. You would want Jinx to focus on last hitting. The whole reason why you would try to zone or hit the binding on the Nidalee is so she won't get experience for this first wave. These two minions are getting quite low. If she misses these two melee minions, then she's going to be really far away from hitting level 2. It takes 9 minions to hit level 2 bottom lane, the entire first wave of minions, and then the 3 melee minions of the second wave. And melee minions give twice as much experience as the range minions. So when you're zoning and stuff like that, it is more valuable to zone on the timings that are when the melee minions go down. So you know the Nidalee has to go around. Nidalee either has to come and basically get out of position where she's split up from the Caitlyn, or she's going to have to go the long way around. So you do technically have a positional advantage right here on the Caitlyn. You should walk forward and definitely just try and trade with Caitlyn, especially when Caitlyn she's very obviously facing towards the minions. She wants this last hit. She's going for this last hit, and immediately after she's going to try to get this last hit. This is a great opportunity for support to go in, land an auto attack, maybe an ability on them. Because if they were to trade one auto attack with you, if you're going to go in and auto attack the Caitlyn once, and she turns on and auto attacks you once, that's totally fine because you made her miss one last hit early game, and you've got plenty of biscuits this early in the game. So that's something worth noting. Is this, as early as this, you could potentially take an advantage. So you didn't really punish them when they were split up like that. And if you hit the binding on the Caitlyn, of course, maybe you would have gotten some traded damage down. But you don't have to just use abilities as a support early on when you're ranged. You can walk up and just auto attack. Okay, now here, this is sort of a mistake by Jinx. I do not think it's ever a good idea to step on the traps when you're in range of taking her ass. If they put traps down, you should just try to avoid it at all costs. I think it's a positional positional disadvantage to try and pop the traps while they're in range of you, because they'll not only take the damage from the traps, but you're also going to take damage from when they walk up and auto attack you. You're basically CCing yourself. So if you did it on purpose, I would definitely recommend being very, very careful about how and when you pop those traps, because this is a weird matchup where they both actually started traps. That's another thing worth noting. I guess I'll go into that. Whenever you see a bottom lane not take like an aggressive level 1 ability, that's a potential for you to just straight up all in kill them. If you were to know at this point that Nidalee and the Caitlyn took both their traps at level 1, those are two abilities that will do 0 damage if you don't step on it. So just between your binding and Jinx's, I think she started her Q at level 1. Yeah, her Q. You could potentially just walk forward past the minions and do an all-in, because each one of their abilities they started are not really battling abilities. Like you could have a coordinated all-in and completely win this from the level 1 if you knew that. And you should be thinking about that because in higher levels of play, they would immediately punish that. If they saw the Caitlyn started traps and the Nidalee started traps, they would just all in. But unfortunately, your Jinx stepped on a trap and took some traded damage. So now the lane is actually in the enemy's favor, and it's actually working out that they started those traps. A lot of traded damage.
I have a question.
Go ahead, go ahead.
What do you think would be the best level 2 spell in this situation?
For Morgana,
Yes.
100% I would start Tormented Soil. I'd take it at level 2, sorry. I would start Dark Binding, of course, but Tormented Soil level 2 for sure. This is a situation where they don't necessarily have a crowd control you want to mitigate. If you're against a Leona, you would want to start. You would want to take Black Shield at level 2. That way, you would cut off her offensive potential completely. In this lane matchup, if Nidalee hits level 2 and gets Spear, you could potentially block that damage, but it's not really going to be worth it. You hit a binding, you land Tormented Soil on that target, they're going to take a big chunk of damage. So I would definitely suggest that. And you guys are going to have to back off. Trading like that Jinx traded when Caitlyn was level 2, and that was just that's just a bad time to trade because Jinx is already behind. Caitlyn will gladly, take one auto attack if she can deal one auto attack. When they hit level 2 like this and they have level 2 advantage, you back off completely. You don't want to be in range of taking any poke because, you know, maybe the other bottom lane doesn't realize they can just straight up win an all-in at that point, but they totally can. And even if they're just trying to poke, they'll win that. So you throw out your binding. I felt like that was kind of, you know, kind of just like, hey, get away from me type maneuver. Be really careful about whenever you're playing Thresh and Morgana at level 1. Whenever they see you miss your ability, it's the same thing like not having a battle ability. It's the same thing like if Caitlyn started her trap, you know, that's not something that she can readily use on you unless you step on it. Morgana binding, if you miss it, you don't have an ability until it's back up. So they can walk a lot closer, and they know you don't have that ability to trade with. And it is a medium ability in terms of cooldown. 2 auto attacks got the Nidalee to half HP. 2 auto attacks from Jinx got Nidalee to half HP at level 2. So if you were to hit a binding in a Tormented Soil with that, 1 more auto attack from Jinx probably would have sealed the deal. And of course you have to factor in they probably use heal. But whenever you see that, whenever you can judge how much damage that your AD carry is doing to the target or what your damage is doing to the target, you can possibly figure out, okay, in this situation, I know we can probably combo down the Nidalee in this bottom lane matchup this game. It's gonna differ per game. This Nidalee's probably running 21 offense. Just seeing how much damage this Jinx did to the Nidalee in 2 auto attacks, it's pretty obvious this Nidalee is running a very offensive setup. So whenever that happens, you just put that information in the back of your head, knowing that this Nidalee is incredibly squishy. And even if you're kind of low in HP, you still might be able to turn it around and kill this Nidalee. Because at 2 auto attacks from Jinx at level 1, you know, got her to half HP. Imagine if both of you comboed your level 2 abilities. So right here, if you hit a binding on Nidalee, she's dead. Like this, in my mind, if I was in this lane matchup, if you hit this binding, 1 zap, 1 auto attack, you know, Tormented Soil, you guys would get this kill. It's also worth noting that I didn't talk about your summoner spells. You did take Exhaust this game. Okay, I'll talk about Exhaust versus Ignite real quick because this is a good example of when Ignite would be better bottom lane than Exhaust. So Exhaust is going to be a better all-around summoner later into the game. It just offers more peeling power. I feel like it really does shut down a lot of champions. However, during laning phase, levels 1 to 6, maybe even more bottom lane, Ignite is the superior summoner for getting kills. Almost always, Ignite will just be that much more of a push in an all-in situation. Very rarely will Exhaust win out if it's an even matchup bottom lane and one player has Exhaust or one support has Exhaust and the other support has Ignite. So that's always worth noting. If I was playing in this matchup, if I was playing in your shoes right now and I had Ignite, I would probably walk up and try to solo the Nidalee as Morgana, because I know with my rune setup, when I have the ability power from my ability power, what is it, Quince, I have the Quince, and then I have the 9 in offense, so you end up having quite a bit of ability power in Morgana because you start Spell Thieves in that setup with mine. I know that with 1 Dark Binding and Tormented Soil and Ignite, I would force their Summoner Heal, if not kill Nidalee right here, with, you know, auto attacks thrown in there, by the way. But just, you have to keep in mind your burst setup, because even without that setup right now, if you were to hit your Binding and Tormented Soil and Jinx were to land Zap and just an auto attack, this is a dead Nidalee. And she should be playing way further back. This is really, really silly that she's this far up, but let's kind of skip ahead because I'm spending a lot of time in the early game, but the early game is just that much more important. Also, you guys just burned Summoner Heal. Let's see. Yeah, Jinx just randomly burned the Summoner Heal. I don't know why. She saw the Javelin come out, and I think she panicked. But you should never burn Summoner Heal just to, like, sustain yourself in lane. Always use it as, like, kind of a last option, especially when their bottom lane doesn't have an Ignite or a heal debuff. There's no reason to use it early. You want to save it for as long as you can, maybe bait them into the turret, but using it like that just kind of really was pointless, but that was Jinx. But you guys are playing down a summoner now, and Nidalee has been chugging her potions, and she's actually quite high in HP right now. A decent Tormented Soil. I would have rather... the one thing about the positioning of this Tormented Soil is it didn't really cut them off from hitting the minions. When you're using Tormented Soil, you want to make sure that you're kind of pushing them out of being able to last hit. So instead of having the Tormented Soil here, it would have been better to have the Tormented Soil like around here or maybe even over here. Because in this spot, you're not zoning them from the minion wave. The Caitlyn can still just walk forward like that and get to the minions. However, a Tormented Soil in this area would push her more to the right, possibly, leaving her open for a binding or something like that. You got to keep in mind that your zoning abilities can be used to kind of move your opponents into a position that could be favorable for you. You guys have any questions so far?
That was really unexpected. Yeah, I never thought about that, but it's really nice. Yeah.
When you're under the tower like this, this is kind of a bad position for a bottom lane to be in this early, especially against the Caitlyn Nidalee. And I'll go ahead and talk about the zoning they can do, or the zoning you can do bottom lane when you're pinned under the turret, or vice versa. So a natural thing that a lot of players don't really think about is when you push the lane, you're going to take an advantage on your opponent for two reasons. For one, you're going to hit the next level up faster. You're going to have already gotten those minions gold and experience. So you guys you guys are behind right now, even though you've basically been in range of all the experience, or at least I assume you have. I didn't really notice if you've missed any so far, but you're still technically behind their bottom lane for these minions, and you guys are still level 2 to reflect it. These guys are level 3. So just from them pushing, they have a level advantage. So imagine if your jungler wanted to gank right now. If your jungler was just like coming through the river, of course this is, you know, could be possibly a time for a jungler to come and gank. If your jungler was coming around right here, you guys still have to deal with these minions under the turret, right? They're the enemy bottom lane is level 3. Well, how does this reflect to it? When you push bottom lane, you take an advantage. You not only will possibly be a level above your lane opponents briefly, but you'll also force your opponents to make a decision to, you know, they have to last hit under the turret, which is difficult to do. But if you're trading with them while they're under the turret, it makes it even more difficult. So this Nidalee and this Caitlyn, they have two abilities that are relatively long range. Caitlyn can use her Q, Nidalee can throw her spear. You don't really have anything to hide behind. So if Jinx walks up to go for this last hit, then Nidalee could just be like, okay, I'm going to throw a spear at you. And Caitlyn could be like, all right, Piltover. And sometimes those skill shots will hit. And if Jinx decides to dodge it, it might mean she misses that last hit. So they're taking multiple advantages by being able to shove the lane. So that's going back to the level 1 thing. The bottom lane that starts pushing faster generally has the advantage in the lane for most of the lane matchups. And in high elo, you oftentimes see a lot of bottom lanes refuse to leash because they know that if they leash against a lot of Caitlyn lanes, they'll basically automatically be at a disadvantage, because if they come to lane at the same time, Caitlyn will still be able to outpush and they'll be pinned under the turret. Caitlyn can abuse her long range, and that's why in high elo, Caitlyn is such a strong pick.
And what could I have done to make Jinx push faster?
Okay, yeah, that's actually a really good question. In about half my games, I actually start Tormented Soil. And this is very risky, but I do it against Caitlyn's. You want to help push the lane. When you get to the lane at level 1, you're going to want to help last hit. And I guess I should probably rephrase that. You're going to want to lower the minion's HP to make it so you're pushing the lane faster, but you don't want to do it in such a way that you're messing up the last hits of your AD carry. So what I'd probably do is, you know, use the Tormented Soil on the range caster minions and help auto attack the melee minions until they get close to last hitting range, and then you switch to another one. But that's not to say that you should always start Tormented Soil at level 1. It's to say that if you're in a lane matchup where you're afraid that this situation will happen, where you guys will just get pushed off the minion wave early on and they just put you under the turret and they start poking you down, you want to try to prevent that from happening. So you could start Dark Binding and just get the lane at level 1 and help auto attack the minions a little bit, and then zone their bottom lane with your Dark Binding, and that could be an effective way to stop them from just shoving against you really hard.
I had a question real fast.
Go ahead.
I noticed how Jinx is actually ahead of Caitlyn in CS. You said that pushing the lane early is typically a good way to get an advantage. Is it worth pushing the lane real fast if you're going to lose out on CS?
Ideally, you should try to get every last hit, and I'm glad you noticed that, because I actually didn't, because I had Kassadin in that spot, so I actually just completely forgot to change these portraits, and I'll go ahead and do that now. But so they should be, you know, the support for support, AD carry. But yeah, that's a good point, and that's a really, really, really good question. it all honestly comes down to if you think you can make a play out of it. Ideally in high elo, if you're pushing faster than your lane opponent, you should take the CS advantage because you're forcing your lane opponent to last it under the turret. And that's something that even pros really can't get perfect CS on some champions early into the game under the turret. There's just some minions you won't be able to get because they're in a weird HP range when the tower hits it. So to really answer that question fully, it comes down to if you can make something happen out of it. They've got you guys quite low, but they have a weird lane matchup. If it was like something like Thresh and Caitlyn and you guys were this low, you'd probably be getting zoned a lot harder. But Nidalee support, it is very, very... It's not like a support that you're really afraid of early on, like a Thresh would. Of course, she can poke you out of lane, but they don't have that all-in kill potential that a lot of other lane matchups have. So right now, they have been out pushing you guys, and you're much lower in HP than they are. You have actually some biscuits. You should be chugging that. As a support, you want to make sure you're topped off early on as much as you can. So if you have those HP potions, you want to be chugging it just in case, because at any moment in time, bottom lane, it could turn into an all-in situation. And you want to be prepared for it. Like, if you were to hit this binding on Caitlyn, you would want to be able to walk up and use your Tormented Soil. And you might take some harass by doing that, but, you know, you still want to get the most out of it. So going back to that, I was kind of rambling. It is worth it if you can make something out of it. Like, if you can eventually take a CS lead by making them recall first, or you can kill them, then yes, it's absolutely worth it. But that's just something you should work on individually. If you, like I said, if you're pushing the lane, you should take a CS advantage over your lane opponent. I think Caitlyn is probably focusing really hard on trying to harass and last hit. Okay, so this is an interesting position to be in right now. I actually want to slow it down because I want to see how it progresses and then talk about it. She throws out her E. Oh, okay, this is a really good spot for you guys to be in. Like, this moment right here might seem like a really bad position for you guys, but just with this moment frozen, I can already tell that potentially you guys could kill this Caitlyn immediately. So she put her chompers behind Caitlyn. If Caitlyn stands where she is, she's going to be hit by flame chompers. This is an amazing, like, zoning device right now that Jinx just did. Obviously, it would be better to use flame chompers once Morgana hits her binding, but this is really opening up a really good opportunity for you to hit the binding on the Jinx, or on the Caitlyn, sorry, because of the Jinx flame chompers. Caitlyn cannot run straight backwards or she walks into the flame chompers, which would mean that you get a guaranteed dark binding on her. So this would just make it much easier to CC or lock her in place, and you potentially probably could kill her right here, but of course both of you are very low, so it could go either way. If I was in your position right now, I might not necessarily realize that you could just hit the dark binding and go for the kill on it, but if you have Summoner Heal up, which I think is still down for Jinx, this might be a bad situation since Caitlyn has, they do have the Summoner Heal. But with the Dark Binding, Tormented Soil, and maybe like one max range rocket, you'd get the Summoner Heal out of Caitlyn, if not a Summoner, because of the positioning. And let's see how this plays out, because I'm actually kind of curious. So she's continuing to walk forward. Okay, your Dark Binding was down. Sorry, that was a spectator bug. But she's still kind of standing still. I guess you're going back towards it now. But Caitlyn realizes that she was in a bad position. Okay, so that was kind of a spectator bug. I didn't realize your Dark Binding was still down. And you missed the binding there. But that would have been a really good opportunity, and that's probably going to be a kill for the Nidalee if she didn't use her execute. Okay, so you exhausted. Nidalee just immediately runs back. But she hit the hunted status on you, and she could have used her E and executed you. I think that actually would have been a kill for her.
She was exhausted.
Yeah, well, you exhausted her, but she started to turn around and run away. I think she could have comboed her E and Q before you got the exhaust off, actually. But I think so. But they burn heal. First blood goes off mid lane. What is that matchup? Oh well, it's irrelevant. Let's focus on bottom lane. So your Jinx is backing off completely. I'm going to go ahead and pause it and go over this. When your AD carry is getting zoned completely as a support, you want to make sure you are A, protecting them, and B, not being in range of being killed. Your binding, I don't know if it's up or down. Okay, it is up right now, but your Tormented Soil is down. You got to be a little bit more accurate. Is that going to hit? That's going to hit. Okay. And your Tormented Soil is up in 1 second. You could put it down. So that's actually the first binding you've hit in a while. Okay. Also, you're getting really, really close. You could use Tormented Soil at max range, but I think you're getting a little bit too greedy with this because Jinx is still not in range to trade with them. This was a good binding, and the Siege Minion is coming in here, but you might end up dying in the process because their positioning is just superior right now because Caitlyn's already got a headshot auto attack coming in. You can tell because of the red around her, and also the missile is much larger. And Jinx has got a couple steps before she can even get in range here, so I can already tell that you're either gonna have to burn flash right here, or you're potentially gonna die. So the headshot auto attack. Here comes the Piltover. She only has rank 1 Piltover. Okay, so you had to burn flash there anyways. If that was rank 2 and she didn't hit a minion, that would have chunked you much more. Wow. And that's gonna be a kill. All right, that might even be a double if that hits both. Okay, that didn't even hit. The splash damage.
I thought that was going to hit Italy.
Yeah, I thought so too. But actually didn't even register. I guess it wasn't close enough. Yeah, that was kind of weird. Like, I want to say that was bad by you guys, but it ended up working out. Okay, like, one thing, Caitlyn should have had 2 points in Piltover, so that probably... okay, you have armor runes, so that might not have killed you, but it probably would have killed me with my setup because I'm squishier.
Oh, nice.
That binding's going to hit her.
It disappeared.
The disappearing binding ended up hitting. So, oh man. I feel bad now that I'm like, oh, this is going to end up badly. And then, like, they do the unexpected, and I'm like, all right, well, everything I just said was pointless. But, I mean, you get the gist of it. Like, when you went in for the binding and you hit it on the Nidalee, like, Jinx couldn't sit there and auto-attack. I think if they had played it correctly, they would have just ended up killing you. But, I mean, you came out on top there, so kudos there. Like, you know what you can do, apparently. So that was a really good kill setup by you. Honestly, that was actually really impressive because, like I said, you went into a situation where it looked bleak to me, but you came out with the outcome that you were hoping for. And Nidalee, of course, should not have died. Like, Nidalee coming back there to try to hit a spear on you, that was like a free kill in the making. But when the Caitlyn death, she legitimately thought she could kill you. That was a good bait. And your rune setup, you're obviously used to using. So, and like I said, I would have thought that you would have died in that situation, but you're using a much tankier setup than I do. I don't run with any points in defense when I play Morgana. It's a much more zoning-oriented, like, kill build that I run. But yours is probably better for baiting, which is obviously what happened there. Okay, so on your first recall, you went Sightstone, and against high-pressure junglers like Xin Zhao, which is what they have, but you can't see him because we have him in the Fog of War right now, I would definitely suggest rushing Sightstone, so that was good that you got that. However, like 90% of my first recalls on Morgana, or any bottom lane for that matter, will just be to upgrade my first tier of the gold generation, because it gives so much more gold.
Even if you have 800 gold?
Even if I have 800 gold, yeah. I will just upgrade Spell Thieves and buy a normal ward. That's just what I do. Because the gold generation and the stats that you get from upgrading Spell Thieves, it's just that much better. She didn't upgrade hers either. She went to Doran's Ring. But yeah, Frostfang is just really, really good. Especially in Morgana when you can proc it all 3 times from just Tormented Soil. Same thing here. They've got you shoved up to the turret, and you have nothing to really hide behind right now except this one minion since they've already cleared it, and they're able just to lob your poke at you. So this is a situation where you have to break this this push that they're able to do against you. So you gotta chug these biscuits, and you have to cut down on how much poke you're taking. Good binding there. A lot of damage going down. Flame Chompers even lands. Jinx should be moving between auto attacks, and that would have been a kill. Okay, she ended up getting it anyways. Did Caitlyn not E backwards? Okay, she did E. But the Jinx should have been E'ing. Oh, that was a double kill. All right. Let me go back. But I'll illustrate what I'm talking about, because that was a really good binding, by the way. But you needed to break the siege that they were doing on you. If you constantly let them just push and poke you, then that's just going to happen. Caitlyn, of course, should not have been in this position. Against any sort of champion that has a skill shot, in between minion waves, it should just be you repositioning behind your minion. So her being in these bushes, like outside of her minion wave, is a huge mistake by the Caitlyn. If Caitlyn was standing like over here, putting her minion wave in between herself and you, there's like no way she could ever be hit by the skill shot. That's another thing worth noting. Whenever you're playing against a skill shot champion like Blitzcrank, Thresh, Morgana, always try to keep the minion wave between you and them. That's kind of common sense, but obviously this Caitlyn didn't heed that. And I'll slow it down. So the Flame Choppers is actually kind of slow coming out here. As soon as the binding hits, that's typically like between one auto attack you should deploy it. Like right here is when it should have gotten deployed. There was a gap in time where Caitlyn could move, and she could have flashed out of it if she had flash up. It's just, you know, worth practicing that, but because it's a solo queue game, you had no communication with your AD carry.
They actually used the net, by the way.
They used yeah, but they exhausted you. The Nidalee should have, you know, walked up and exhausted the Jinx, because at this point, you've blown your load. You've done all the damage that you're going to do as Morgana at level 5. You've hit your 3-point binding, which is most of your damage as Morgana has already been hit on the target, Tormented Soil. But Jinx wasn't really moving in between auto attacks, so that's why I was concerned that you guys wouldn't get the kill. But yeah, the Caitlyn net was kind of ineffective. So yeah, it ends up being a kill. And then you not only kill the Caitlyn, but you get the level up from it, so that's when the double kill happens. And Nidalee turns way too late. In a situation where your AD carry is definitely going to die, unless the target you're on you can kill and then they can no longer fight you back. I don't know. It's really foolish as a support to like turn after as your AD carry is dying. Like if Nidalee had gone on your Jinx like right when you hit the binding, this might have been an entirely different fight. But because she like panicked and like went into caster form and like walked back, this ended up being much easier. But she jumps on your Jinx and she does a lot of damage. Like she really did do a lot of damage. She got their Jinx quite low. But it's like your target you're focusing is already down, and your summoner heal's already back up. Jinx hits 6, and for some reason is walking to take a turret.
I actually hit my binding on a minion there, and that gave Jinx 6. I just realized. Oh.
Oh, you're right. The minion's like on top of Nidalee right here, so I didn't even see it.
Yeah.
The minion is literally like on top of Nidalee.
Oh, you killed it.
Yeah, you're right. You got Nidalee to 6. I didn't see the minion. That's a really good observation you made, because the minion was like on top of Nidalee, like under her hitbox.
Yeah, I just remembered it from the game that at one point I hit a binding on a minion in such a situation. You get to see it if you play.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing about this situation was the binding did give Jinx level 6, but if the binding had hit, that you guys would have still gotten the kill. So it's like,
yeah,
you know, it's just cool how that turned out. But okay, so Kassadin roams bottom. This is just a situation where you want to get out of here. Like, you don't know where the jungler is, and their mid laner just suddenly roams down. You don't want to ward right now. This is a bad time to ward, because if Xin Zhao's in this bush, if you're going to ward this tri-bush when Kassadin's like below you right here, and Xin is like sitting in this bush seeing that you're coming over here because they have a ward here or something like that, then you're going to get collapsed on and killed. Like that's just what would happen. So this is a bad time to ward. Oh, and Xin's out. Okay, I didn't even know Xin was there. Like, I just like we had the fog of war on. All right. Kassadin should get one more Rift Walk out. Okay, he just ignites you. Wow. I think I'm an Oracle. I had no idea. I was just like, this is going to happen if the jungler's here, and that's just what happened. Yeah, I mean, that's just, like, in a situation like that, their mid laner has come down. You're wasting their mid laner's time by just backing off. Like, if you don't give Kassadin anything there in this situation, then you've wasted Kassadin's time for roaming bottom. And that means your mid laner could roam top, which is what it looks like he did on the minimap, and or just shove down mid. And so that you just want to back off. You don't want to ward after a play's been done. You just want to get out of there, because what are you going to do with that information immediately? You're going to end up having a recall right away because their bottom lane's on their way back. So that was you guys played really well that previous play, but that kind of set you guys even. Like, you gave them, you gave them back the number of kills that you just acquired. So, even though you guys were just crushing, and you guys are still ahead, you've kind of given gold to Casson and you've given gold to Xin Zhao, which sets your other teammates a little bit further behind. So even though you're stomping the lane, you've kind of made it a little bit harder for your teammates because of that. Okay, so you guys have come back to lane. This is the first thing I do when I come back to lane. I ward, obviously. As soon as you get back to lane, you want to ward. And I'll go ahead and talk about this because most supports know how to do this. I mean, obviously, if you're standing on this ledge and you're aiming like generally around this spot, you're gonna get it in this bush.
I think I'm even doing that sometimes in this game.
Okay, that's good. I'm just pointing that out, just for the video's sake. But so the first thing when I come back from lane, like when I'm on purple side, I'll ward that if they have a high pressure jungler and I can't like safely go out like that. But because their bottom lane has like no crowd control in between them, like I'm not really afraid. I would just walk out and just go do my own warding thing. Once you get your wards out, that's when you're like, okay, we got wards out. Let's make some aggressive plays happen. Sometimes you can do it before them because look at what you have right now. You're both level 6. Jinx's ultimate, I don't know if it's bugged out, but it says it's back up. Okay, it probably is back up, I guess. I don't know. We'll see if it's a spectator bug or not. But you guys both are level 6. You want to kill them as soon as you can. You do not want to let the other bottom lane hit 6. You're level 6. You want to not only push them out of lane and kill them, but you want to keep your advantage that you have right now for as long as you can. So whenever you first come back to lane and you've already killed your lane opponents and you're level 6 and they're still level 5, you come back and you kill them again because you know that their summoners were probably just used up in the previous play, except there's their heal is back up and Nidalee has her flash, but they're still missing summoners is the big thing. So as Morgana, you would just like, you don't even have to hit a binding. When you're 6 and you're level 5, you just black shield yourself, walk forward, ult them, and then just like once the first target gets stunned, you walk up and dark binding them point blank. But you're kind of like, you're coming back to lane and you're kind of doing like cleanup duty. You're like getting rid of the traps and stuff, which would be okay if you were in a lane matchup where you can't just like go ham right away. But this is definitely a matchup where it's just like you go ham like right away. Like I would just immediately charge where you're standing, like past the minion wave. Like if they continue to run back, then I would just continue to zone them because you're level 6 and they're level 5. You have like a massive power spike on them, and you should like play accordingly because they should back off. If they let you walk up, then that's their mistake because you'll get a double kill or you're going to completely zone them. So Jinx is pushing this, and this is kind of a bad idea because you're level 6, they're level 5. This is a prime example of when you should freeze the lane and zone them, if not just kill them. So like whenever you have like a massive kill presence in lane, whether you're playing like Leona plus whatever AD carry with burst or something where you can just 100 to 0 their support or 100 to 0 their AD carry, this is when you want to start freezing the lane because you're going to create a longer distance of safety that they have. Right now their distance of safety is from where they're standing to the tower range. You want to try and freeze the lane. What I mean by that is you not only want to not push the lane, but you want the lane to push towards you. And this is a circumstance where because this Caitlyn has just bursted down your siege minion, this is going to start pushing towards you if you like basically if you time your last hits as late as you possibly can as an AD carry. Once they already have a bigger minion wave than you, it's going to continue to push towards you. So this is a circumstance where you as a support take control of this bush. Your AD carry should just be also trying to zone, not worrying about last hitting right now, but this is a siege minion, still get the last hit if you can. But the idea is just to push them out of lane, but also to let their minion wave continue to push towards the closer to your turret as possible. That gives you a longer distance of being able just to flat out kill them. Because them getting back to tower range from where they're staying right now is much easier than if like the minion wave was close to like where Jinx was standing. Like if their minion wave is here, your minion wave is here, that's a much longer distance to their tower, like way longer, and that's just more room for you to kill them in. So that's why when you have a kill presence in lane, or you have the ability to 100 to 0 them, you want to freeze the lane and just deny them all the CS, and if they get close, you just kill them. And you can keep it like that like almost indefinitely if you do it correctly. And that's another way that some really experienced bottom lanes absolutely stomp the pants out of inexperienced bottom lanes, is because once they get ahead, they start freezing, and there's just like, unless the enemy jungler like comes and stops it, they're just, the enemy bottom lane can't do anything for like the rest of the game. Because if they ever get closer, if they get close enough just to get in experience range, you as a support should just all in them, and then you kill them, and you just keep on doing that, and you basically win the game like right there from bottom lane, because their bottom lane should be useless all game. Really good binding there, but not the best net from Caitlyn, because she kind of netted in the straight line that your binding was in, but that was like, she was panicking when she did that. So you still hit the binding because you were aiming for where she's standing, and she E'd in the direction that the binding was still going in. So that hits. This should be Flame Chompers, Zap into ultimate. Caitlyn should be dead here. If misplays happen, then Caitlyn might live, and but she should get zoned at least. She not use Flame Choppers? Flame Choppers were down for 1 second. When did she use Flame Choppers? Okay. Oh well, you guys still get the kill because she hits the ultimate after your ult. So you guys have killed their AD carry. What you do when you kill the enemy AD carry, you basically no longer need the freeze, since you guys got kind of low. You just want to shove it to their turret. If you kill their support but you're safe enough to stay in lane, then you want to maintain the freeze, because if you just push the minion wave to their turret, their AD carry will probably still get a lot of the last hits. But their support will probably have a really tough time lasting under the turret, and gold on them is going to be much less important, or should be much less important than their AD carry. So when you kill their AD carry and you're low, you just shove it to their turret, and then either look to make a kill on their support under the turret, or just recall. And because it's Nidalee, if you hit a binding, that should be a kill. Oh, she's so low. Yeah, you guys can push her off this turret very easily. You got to Warden the Tribush as Morgana. Nidalee has no mana. Like, she doesn't even have enough mana to throw Javelin right now. You just zone her. Like, you've got a nice minion wave going. It's going to take a while for the tower to beat through that. What you do is you're going to just want to run past the minion wave. Like, ideally, you'd wait for their minions to, like, aggro onto your minions before you do this. But because you're healthy enough, you could just charge past, and the minions will aggro onto you, and you could just try to hit a binding just to zone her off, or maybe to even kill her if you had Ignite this game, but you didn't. Only because you have a word in the Tribush. She's getting dangerously close, too. Oh, she even leaped forward. If yeah, this is Nidalee misplaying right here tremendously, because even though minions are in front of her, like a well-placed zap like along the minion line can still like hit targets that are like, they seem like they're behind minions, and like a zap like that could translate into you hitting a binding when she's slowed and the minions pass. So she starts to back up. Even with the minions, like, you've got, like, the tower has, like, 3 more auto attacks. When she's still this close, I mean, their AD carry is going to be coming back pretty soon. But it's a squishy support, and, less than half HP. You blow on her, she's going to fall over type situation. And she's like, oh, she even leaps forward here. Oh, I really hope you guys punish her, because this is like... I
think she dies.
She should die, because this is, like, bad mannering right here. She's like, okay.
I'm pretty sure she dies.
Oh, she's taking turret.
Yeah.
Okay. You would want to, as a support, you would probably want to, like, if your AD carry is tanking the tower, at the very least, you should also be in there helping, because you're healthy right now. That is a situation where you'd want to trade off aggro of the turret if you can. Like, I'll actually like kind of go through it a little bit.
Is there any way we can trade aggro without losing the aggro, so it would be senseless anyway? Well,
you just want to make the most use out of both of your HP pools, because if Jinx is just tanking the turret the entire time, then if Cassin or Xin were to pop up instantly, she'd be dead. It's just better and dives to just equal out the HP if you can. But if someone's tanking, the other person should be in there DPSing at the very least. So that this hits, you kind of throw your binding off. I'm not sure if you were like misclicking or not, but
no, she was there when I ended.
Okay, yeah. But like
in this situation, I was really surprised that Jinx went so deep. So that's why I didn't go under dive with her. I didn't expect her to dive.
Okay.
It
But
was.
this is a situation where like, if she's in there like doing that, you'd be doing like the best you can with your auto attacks to help out. Like you backed off completely, but once you saw her with the aggro, you would, if all you had were your auto attacks, there's a situation where your auto attacks might have mattered because she was that low. And you're trying to auto attack the turret here. Oh, you went back.
That was just for stacks.
Okay, yeah, just for stacks. Jinx very low. You guys would probably want to get out of here pretty soon. Caitlyn's not 6 yet, but you know, you just gotta still play wary when you don't know exactly where their jungler is. But their jungler looks like it's top on the minimap, so you guys should know that information if you're paying attention to the minimap. Whenever the jungler like, whenever you see someone on the minimap, that's like free information for you guys. This is another kill, absolutely.
Not quite.
Oh, did she not use flame choppers?
She had no mana, I think.
It says it's down. No, it's flame choppers is only 50 mana. It says it's bugged. It's like it won't come back up. But yeah, that should have been a kill. She had enough mana, but I think she might have. Maybe she used one rocket to run out of mana in that range. But anyways, that should have been a kill. The binding into flame choppers would have been better there than her using zap. But I'm pretty sure she had enough mana. I actually want to go back. Cause that I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just like worth noting. Also, the pause and play button is broken now. That's not good. Rip. All right. Well, it looks like we can't pause it
Maybe the
anymore,
hotkey works.
I could reload the client, but we'll see if there's like a point where I need to pause in the future. We'll speed it up. Okay, you stayed. It's worth noting that you're going to save the tower here, but like 90% of the time, you want to make sure your recalls are timed with your AD carry. But in this circumstance, you not recalling is going to end up saving the tower, so that's fine. But a lot of bottom lanes, their core mistakes are, and you didn't ward over the wall. Okay, cool. Their core mistakes are that, like, one of them, like, the support won't recall when the AD carry is recalling, so there's like a item discrepancy between bottom lanes and health discrepancy, and it can it can get kind of ugly when bottom lanes aren't like on the same sync of recalls, because one will want to go all in while the other hasn't recalled yet and stuff like that. Oh wow. Good binding, flash ult there. I don't think you needed the flash ult there. You should probably have trusted Jinx a little bit more to just hit the ultimate, but because you in the previous play you had seen Caitlyn use flash, but I mean you kill secured. I mean you guys got it. Guaranteed, but you know, you didn't need to use your ultimate there, but you know, hindsight is 20/20. You can go back in the replays and be like, oh, I didn't need to do that, but it's hard in the moment to not just flash ult, because you see an opportunity like that. Or you guys are gonna get the tower. As soon as you take control bottom lane like that, like you guys have killed the Caitlyn. Ideally, you'd want to do dragon, or go ward up and go mid lane. But because your jungler isn't really on this side of the map, you guys can't do that. But you have a lot of control over bottom lane. As a support, I probably would have gone and warded deeper, since you have vision of their bottom lane and you see they're casted in mid. You could go and ward like potentially in this bush or even deeper, just to have vision of them going through dragon, because you guys don't have direct vision of dragon right now. And if they saw you recall, even though they're behind, the Nidalee and the Caitlyn and their team, they're not necessarily behind. The gold's even, but you know what I mean. Bottom lane, they're behind. They could just rush dragon because you guys aren't there. If you're in your base, you can't defend dragon. So, possible weakness there. Jinx is rushing Infinity Edge. Looks like they're going to do dragon now.
In that situation, I had nearly, I think, over 2k gold, so I really wanted to shop there.
Yeah, so they end up doing dragon. Got to make sure you keep it warded when you recall like that, even if when you have control over bottom lane. Because mid lane and jungle, they're doing really well. Cassin's 3-0 and Zin's now 2-0-1. You guys are kind of playing clean up after that. I want to go back and look at it because I was kind of more distracted talking about the warding. But so they're doing dragon right now. Let's wait for the replay to catch up. You're kind of walking in place right now. Here we go. Okay, now it's caught up. So you guys see them doing dragon. You should probably back off. If you can't immediately contest it with your team, I really wish this pause button wasn't broken right now. Because I can't like pause it and then talk about it. Your team wasn't grouped up, and you guys were like fighting a combined front of their team. Like almost all of them, like it was 4 of them were rushing this one entrance after they did dragon, and like Ziggs was up here. It was just kind of a mess for your team because they could 4v1 each person individually. Like they would all jump on you, kill you, all jump on your AD carry, kind of down the line type situation, and just kill everyone on your team one by one. But that's not all of you died, but you lost dragon in a couple deaths. It's much better just to give up that dragon than to give up dragon and then give multiple deaths, or multiple kills to the enemy team, because that's just more free gold, more free experience. If they get dragon and they get low afterwards, then instead of using that time to just sit there and fight them after, you go and push down mid lane or bottom lane or something, because their mid tower is low. They were kind of low from that dragon, and if you guys had just grouped and just gone mid, you probably would have gotten that free tower. It's probably a kill. Yeah, it's a kill. Good binding, max range binding. Caitlyn once again has a bad habit of eating in this same direction that she's going in. Sometimes you can get into the enemy team or the enemy players' heads in terms of like understanding what they have a bad habit of doing. And this Caitlyn keeps using her net in the same direction she's trying to travel in. So your bindings are basically just you're aiming it directly at her and she's still getting hit by it. It's just a small thing that you think about as a skill shot support, is small things like that, like small tendencies players makes it easier to hit your skill shots.
What do you think about Zonia's this game? Because that's what I'm going to rush.
Yeah, you're rushing Zonia's. Honestly, you guys did so well bottom that you kind of have to pick up the slack of your team. Your Riven is 0-5. Yeah, I think Hourglass was a good choice, because as a support, you have your gold generation, you have your Sightstone. You don't have boots yet, but like Hourglass is pretty core in Morgana. If you can use that to engage, that's pretty strong. Jinx is still bottom. Oh, man, I'm actually gonna start the replay. I'm gonna restart the replay and then just come back to this point. I'll have to remember the time. So I think it just broke last game because I was using it too much or something. I don't know. All right, so we were like 16. So Jinx is still bottom, kind of by herself. She's got 6 kills, 6-1-3. So yeah, you guys have 9 kill participation. 9 kill participation out of 10 kills. That's a lot for bottom lane. This is a situation where definitely Jinx should just be like, all right, if the enemy bottom lane is going to get this tower, it's already so low. You really want to start roaming as a bottom lane duo pair. You would go mid lane and just siege it down if they don't have a whole lot of wave clear. Caston's a champion that doesn't have the safest wave clear anyways, because he's got to get kind of close to use his force pulse. And if he's ulting the wave, you should be able to kill him because he's in front of you. You guys are like on the defensive right now, like for sure. Like Riven's having a hard time. Your mid laner having a hard time against Caston. But you and your AD carry still need to be a unit and kind of roam around together. And it's a bad habit for bottom laners to just kind of, one of them stays bottom permanently, because it's like, you don't want to give up your turret, but you still want to help out. So one person ends up staying bottom and one will roam. Well, this causes a lot of problems because you're trying to roam around. You really haven't decided what you want to do yet. Bottom lane's very vulnerable to ganks right now. Like Jinx is farming really far up. You haven't placed a ward down for her, and she hasn't used her trinket ward. So someone like Caston, yeah, he's thinking about roaming down, could easily pick off Jinx. If not, Jinx is kind of unutilizing her 6 kills right now. She's got the most kills in her team, and she's just kind of farming. So if one of you is going to stay bottom, it needs to be both of you. So you can like continue the pressure, and if only one of you stays bottom, then it's better for that one person just to have roamed with the support or whatever. So in this situation, I think Jinx should have just roamed mid, but we'll see how it plays out. Oops, I'm supposed to follow the camera of Morgana. There we go. So you're going to ward. Okay, it looks like they killed the Jinx, like I said. Jinx is farming too far out. It would have been better for her to just leave bottom lane anyways, to go farm somewhere else. You're going to lose this tower anyways. So by Jinx staying bottom and trying to like save this turret, end up not really mattering, and they kind of got a lead anyways. Well, they haven't taken the turret yet, but they're going to take it. You can't stop this. And then, meanwhile, mid lane, they get another double kill. So you guys are crushing, but like I said, if you take out all 9 of your kills that you guys have gotten bottom lane, it's 14-1 right now.
It's
Like,
10.
They have all the kills bottom lane.
Yeah,
They have all the kills.
all the kills bottom lane. And their bottom lane has, well,
0.
I guess like 2 technically. Nidalee maybe. I don't remember if Nidalee got 1 kill when. Oh well, it's 2 or 3 kills down on their scoreboard. Discounting bottom lane completely. So if you were to look at like every other part of the map in terms of like kills, it would be like, like 12-1 or 11-1. You basically your laners are getting stomped. So that's another way to look at it. And then you're gonna end up dying here. Whoa! All right, no, she's gonna flash auto attack. All right, those are those armor runes really kicking in gear with your seekers. So I actually thought the Caitlyn was gonna kill you, but yeah, it was close. The flash auto attack secured it. But like in the past like 2 or 3 minutes, you and Jinx have lost your turret bottom and died. Kind of disorganized. You as a support should really kind of like try to lead your AD carry, because most of the time they don't really know what to do. They're just kind of like the person who's just auto attacks minions. That's not to say that every AD carry you're going to play in this bracket does that, but the support player typically has the most time to look at the other sides of the map, because you're not always having to focus on last hitting. So typically support players have more of a mindset of what's going on elsewhere, and that should be something you should try to improve on as well, even if you're an AD carry player. But yeah, like if you're the support or even the AD carry and your other person you're playing with in solo queue doesn't really know what to do, just try to lead them. After you get that turret bottom, you go mid or you stay bottom together. That's just how it goes. You can give up that bottom outer turret. It's not that big of a deal. If you go mid and you're saving your teammates or / stopping your teammates from continuing to feed, it's totally worth it. But it's just hard for a lot of players to get into that mentality that they are letting their enemy bottom lane sort of come back or giving them farm because they have to go and roam. But that's how you carry as bottom lane. You win your lane and you go and roam. You secure that dragon, you go mid, get that turret, and you're golden. Okay, so let's see what you've been doing, because I was on Jinx for some reason. You're kind of sweeping your own jungle. Something that's worth noting about warding: when you're behind, you absolutely want to start warding defensively. When you're ahead, you ward offensively. That's just how the game goes. And if game's even, then you ward like you have to make the decision whether or not in the next couple of minutes they're going to be able to start winning or you're going to start losing. You basically have to make a judgment call, and the safest way to ward when the game is even is just like in the rivers. But when you're losing, this is a pretty decent area to start warding when you're behind. Obviously, there's a multiple 2 wards here, but one's about to fade, so you're overlapping the wards just to have one down when that one fades. It's fine. One in the tri-bush, or this bush right here, is also pretty good, and also one in the tri-bush. You're warding really, really defensively. You don't really have to ward this bush until this turret goes down. So like you'd want to translate either these wards into this bush, or one there, or that there. And you don't have to ward here if you have a ward here, because you see them coming through anyways. So you could ward here and one there, and you would know when they're on your side of the map. And that would save wards and be a little bit better. But you have to put yourself at risk going out there to ward that.
Yeah, at that moment I just felt that we were really, really far behind, like at least 5k gold.
Yeah.
Because Warwick and Kassadin were just totally destroying all of us.
Right.
So I warded probably more defensive than I should have.
No, it's okay to ward here, but it's just worth noting that it would have been better to put a ward here, and someone ended up trinket warding this anyways. It kind of cuts down, because by the time you see someone on this ward, they're already in your jungle. And think about it this way: if your teammates are wanting to do this wraith camp, but your only source of vision in your jungle is like out here, by the time you see them, it's too late, because you're unprotected doing that wraith camp, and it doesn't like encourage you to be able to do that wraith camp. So your wards want to be able to allow you to feel safe in your jungle. This is kind of like a last desperation ward site. This is like kind of like the last frontier to ward. Like once you've lost this turret and once you've lost this turret, that's kind of where you start warding. But when you're starting to lose, like the game is still like totally winnable by you guys. Like one Baron steal and you guys could be like in the lead type situation.
Yeah, it just felt like we were
Yeah,
far more behind.
No, don't
than we
like
actually were.
don't stress out about me pointing that out. It's just it's something that you kind of have to really get into the mindset of, because that is like a high tier support understanding, like exactly where to ward. And even high elo supports don't always ward perfectly, and it is an art. It's like understanding where you possibly can ward and what's the best spots to ward, because they need to allow your team to be able to farm. And your Black Shield wasn't enough to save your Kha'Zix, but even if the Black Shield were to land, I think Kassadin being there that close and Caitlyn already DPSing wouldn't have mattered. Like the Kha'Zix would have died. Also, you got a little bit too close. You're definitely going to die here too.
Yeah, I was overextended.
Yeah, your teammates are really far back. When you're behind and the enemy team is grouped, you don't want to fight them out in the open. You want to use your tower as the sixth man. And I talked about this in the Gold Jungle video. But when you're behind, you have to utilize your turret, because it's honestly really difficult to end the game in Season 4. Like unless the enemy team or whatever opponents you're facing have just exceptional like ways to poke you out of turrets. Sieging a turret is difficult stuff in Season 4. Turrets do a lot of damage. Imagine if they were up like trying to hit this turret while you were still alive and your teammates were all still alive. You could just wipe them. Like a Flash Morgana ult here with Hourglass. If they try to turn and retaliate to fight you under the turret, you just kill them because the turret's really strong. But now they can safely take this turret because you guys are dead. And that's something that all brackets of play really have trouble with. Like in higher elo, you see some like some games that players really understand that turrets are the sixth man, and the winning team or the team that's ahead mid game oftentimes won't even win late game because they'll end up overextending or trying to tower dive or something because the enemy team's playing so passive, and it ends up just working out horribly because you got to utilize that sixth man, the tower, to really make a comeback. And they're getting the dragon. You can't contest this dragon. Dragons right now are a big no-no for your team. If the enemy team like missteps and like they don't have it timed or something like that, then you can get it, or they have like multiple people top lane. But you just have to sacrifice that. You just have to give up those dragons when you're behind mid game, because it's only going to result in like really bad team fights. And you guys you're out here warding outside of your turret and like trying to figure out where the enemy team is. Just go back under your turret and wait for them to show up, because only bad things happen when you are behind and you're trying to straight up win a 5v5 fight against an enemy team that doesn't necessarily have a worse team composition than you, probably even considered a little bit better for a solo queue team comp and out in the open, because you're hoping for the enemy team to outplay themselves so hard that you win being behind in items. You just don't want to fight out in the open when you're this far behind. Like I said, you could evaluate that by figuring out where the gold is on your team. And you guys have most of the gold bottom lane right now, and their assassins have most of their gold. So Jinx having 8 kills isn't going to mean much when Kassadin can just 100 to 0 her instantly. This is really risky. But yeah, they're really trying to penalize you guys for being a little bit too far out. I mean, you're under the turret now, but like if you were a little bit further up, Zen would have just gone ham. What is Zen doing? Okay, Zen finally flashed over. Caitlyn gets hit by a binding. Good kill there. It ends up being 1-for-1 trade. Oh, good binding there.
Shield.
Wow. All right, let me go back and talk more about how and why this is a bad play by the enemy team. Like, okay, all right.
I get exhausted
you played
again.
This, yeah, you played this really well. They exhausted you again. Let's slow it down. This is kind of what encourages like bad habits, to be honest, because you guys should not have won this 2v3. But Zen is just like I don't know what's going through the Zen's head. Like he wants the flash over, obviously, and maybe even like uses E if you got close enough. But like Caitlyn is like, Zen, come over, like let's do this. But she gets hit by the binding. So in this situation right now, it's just these two versus you two. So this is a 2v2. You guys are already ahead. You've been smashing them all game. This Zen is really strong. Like, this is a scary Zen. Blade of the Rune King, Feral Flare Zen. This is like, if I get on you, you're dead in like 3 seconds type of Zen Zhao. So you're going to instantly kill this Caitlyn. And Zen is still just like, what's up, guys? All right, I'm over now. But the Caitlyn's already dead before the Zen has done any damage, and he's like almost killed your Jinx. But here's the thing: the free kill was you. Like, instead of Zen just going over to auto attack a Jinx that's under the turret, he should have just been like, okay, well, I'll just kill this person who's Hourglass, because there's like basically no way you get back to the turret in time unless you hit the binding on the Zen, and you just like didn't take a whole lot of damage before you hit the binding. But he took a lot of damage from just tanking the turret, and Jinx did a good job of popping heal and kiting. But Zen should not have been tanking the turret. This is a 6-man being utilized right here. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the extra man. This turns out to be a 3v3 because Zen is tanking the tower. And this tower hurts. 230 damage per auto attack, and that scales up. So, that's not to mention armor, but this is the 3rd man being utilized. You guys probably, if not undoubtedly, would have lost this if the turret wasn't utilized. But Zen lost almost all of his HP from the turret, and now Jinx is coming back. Zen doesn't have his E back up. Jinx is just landing a rocket. One more. Oh, she should have auto-attacked the Zen there. She clicked the Nidalee. Because the Zen almost had was almost out of the route and could have just E'd and auto-attacked like once and killed the Jinx. So misplayed by the Jinx there. But like I said, the tower. The tower in Season 4 is just OP. You have to utilize it when you're behind. It's so difficult for a team to end in Season 4 if the enemy team has CC and they turtle effectively. And the game is not that far behind. Like, a 5k gold deficit at 20 minutes is honestly not as bad as some gold deficits that I see for teams that come back and win. You just have to utilize towers. Like, if the enemy team is 5-man grouping, just 5-man defend that turret, and you wait for the enemy team to do something stupid by diving you. That's all you have to do. Like, the easiest comebacks are just like 5-man grouping and sitting under a turret and waiting for them to try to dive you. And of course, if they're just walking up to hit the turret, you might be able to engage on them if you're playing a CC support. But that last fight was still well played by you. You hit the bindings. You're hitting some really nice bindings this game. The Jinx went Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer. She's got 11 kills, but Kassadin, Rod of Ages, Hourglass is going to be able to probably get to your Jinx and just kill her instantly. So all the kills being on an 80 carry in this circumstance would not be the best situation, because they have really strong assassins and bruisers that can get to her and kill her fast. It'd be better for the gold to be diversified. That way, if your 80 carry is killed instantly, you still have some power in the team fight. Here, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. You're just kind of walking through, I guess, checking for traps. But same thing, you're warding in the same spots. But they're pushing down mid, so it's fine that you left clearing ward / warding early, because you want to be here before they're actually in range to auto attack the turret. Okay, they're getting way too much damage on this turret before you guys are grouped. You have to respond. You basically have to respond almost immediately when they're grouped up like this, or they're going to get a free turret. And they got a free inhibitor turret from this. Ziggs waited on the ultimate, and now like you're forced to fight them. Like this is a really bad situation, because you're forced to fight them or lose your inhibitor, and you don't have a tower to protect you. So this is like a critical error by your team by not understanding the threat of the enemy team being this close, 4 to 5-man grouped, because Ziggs should have been here already, like understanding that it's his job to wave clear and stuff like that. But even as a support, like you just have to get your team. You have to rally your team there. But you guys are probably going to be forced into a bad fight here and lose your inhibitor. Okay, so Xin Zhao. Okay, I just ate my words again. You guys are going to win this team fight. My God. This is just not my day. Apparently, I was calling it earlier. So you guys aced them. That should be Baron after. What happens? How did they lose this team fight? I don't even know. All right.
You jinxed yourself when you called Xin Zhao in the tri-bush.
Yeah. Okay. So. Okay. So this is what the enemy team is doing wrong. They're diving in when 3 people are unable to be in this play. Like, if you look at it like this is a fight right now between these and people who are coming in from this side. This is a fight. These 3 people aren't doing any damage. This javelin probably won't even hit a target. So it's like they're fighting like 2v. Let's see. Well, you're coming in from right here. So this is actually like a 3v2 right now that they're just diving in. This is Xin Zhao's full glass cannon. So Xin Zhao threw this fight really hard. Like unbelievably hard. And this is sort of what bothers me about low elo, because when I would say something like this is how something should go. Blue side should have just taken this inhibitor. Like, this should have been a free inhibitor for them. They had the item lead, they had the gold lead, but they just, like, totally misplayed it. They totally mishandled, like, just walking in here as 5. Xin Zhao and Warwick are just really, really far ahead of the Caitlyn. Let me slow it down. Xin is just really focused on, well, Warwick was auto-attacking that for a second, so this is really time for your team to start grouping. Let's see how this plays out a little bit further. That was a really good Ziggs satchel. It disengaged. It knocked Ziggs out of being able to take damage from the Xin and the Kassadin. It CCs not only the Xin Zhao, but the Kassadin basically on top of each other. So this Riven's like, oh yeah, like 2 targets, 3 targets standing next to each other. I can use this. And their team took some damage from the Xin ult. I mean, it's worth noting that the enemy team got hit by a Ziggs ult. Sorry, I think I said Zen. But Ziggs ultimate did hit their entire team. The Ziggs is not very fed. He only has 174 AP. But he hit all 5 of them. So Caitlyn in this fight is down 400 HP. They're missing some HP going into this fight. 1 auto attack by Caitlyn's used on the turret. Half of them starting to run away. Like, look at this. They're like, let's run. Like, these 3 are like, let's book it out of here. And these 2 are like, hey, let's take this inhibitor, let's fight here. So they're not on the same page at all. And if you see that happen, if you see the enemy team, like, half of them backing off and the other half, like, fighting, yeah, you can win that. But I don't think they should have backed off here. For one thing, they did get kind of low, and they were just miscommunicating, I guess. And then your team is just fighting these 2 when these 3 are just, like, unsure of what they're doing. Like, this brawl is about to fight, start. And the Ziggs Q hits, Riven auto attack. Xin is dead. Like, this auto attack Q is probably going to finish him. Auto attack Q, and then Ziggs. So, and the damage they're hitting is AoE, or the damage you're doing is AoE. Ziggs is hitting multiple targets. Jinx was hitting her rocket on 2 targets, and Riven used her ultimate. So you're killing 2 targets before these 3 have done any. They haven't done anything. Like, these 3 are just like, Caitlyn's the auto attack like maybe once, and other than that, it's been pretty much 2v5 up until this point. So I ate my words. Like, blue side, like, completely dropped the ball. Like, this. Oh, and this Jinx ult's gonna hit 2. Oh my god. So you guys fought. You guys fought this really well, and the enemy team just. And then now Kassadin goes in. Okay, like, of all the times for Kassadin just to dive in to fight your Jinx, he decides to do it when 3 of his teammates are dead. So okay, this is a mistake by Riven to just walk forward like that, but. Caitlyn's gonna flash, gets 1 auto attack. She's still chasing, so you guys have killed all their team, and Caitlyn is still chasing. She's gonna miss that Q. Yeah, she's gonna miss that Q, and this is how you guys ace them. All right, Ziggs got excited. I mean, Jinx got excited, and Ziggs is still in the play. Ace. That should be Baron. Immediately rush to Baron.
Yeah, I pinged it, but no one followed me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That was a little tragic.
this is like the freest Baron of your life in this situation. You can't force people to do Baron, but this is basically me opening up the chat bar. Hey, do you guys want to win the game? Let's go do Baron right now. I wouldn't just ping.
Oh no, we go for mid.
You go for mid. This is not a good time to go for mid. Look at the death timers. It's 10 to 20 seconds on the enemy team. You guys, if you guys get this mid turret, you'd be lucky, right? Like, you have to, like, push down these minion waves. There's no minion waves nearby. Impossible to get this inhibitor right now. Absolutely impossible. The death timers would have to be 40 seconds for you guys to get this inhibitor safely and back out. Baron was really free here. Riven went top. Riven should have just recalled, home guarded to Baron, and helped you guys out. But I think you guys could have done it as 4 because Jinx is so dang fed. I mean, she's probably sitting on a ton of gold, well, 1,400. But she's got Infinity Edge, Fan Advancer. Her CS is probably the reason why I think she should have more items than she does. I think you guys could do Baron. It would take an experienced team to, like, trade off the aggro of it. And by experience, I just mean probably, like, I guess it would be more of like platinum and above to like understand that fully trade off Baron aggro. But like Kha'Zix single target, you know, with a fed Jinx, you guys could do this. But yeah, you guys go for mid. I don't know. I would have probably spent like 5 seconds typing in chat, telling my team to do Baron and pinging it. And you guys are going to tank this instead. Well, this is okay for multiple reasons. This is a bad idea. You're going to be super low from tanking this turret, and they're all respawning. They could counter Baron. This is not a good situation for you guys to be in. You got one turret, but you're all very low. You haven't recalled after that last fight, and Baron is still on the table. Another reason why you'd want to do Baron after that play is you guys are still, well, before that play, you guys were still behind. That gold from the tower equalized it, but most of your gold is on Jinx, and like I said, the assassins will get to her and kill her eventually. It's better to have that gold diversified. They can hunt you down here because you guys didn't really get out in time. Cassidy, Warwick, they're going to just, yeah, they're just going to do that. So not only could they get Baron, or they could just rush down to your inhibitor because you have an exposed inhibitor, and they could force a 4v5 fight. The enemy team, I don't know, they probably should have just done Baron or forced Baron because your entire team is having to recall. They're all low. You haven't shopped yet. If they were to force a fight, they would have an advantage anyways. Instead, they're going to opt just to go down mid. That's fine too. They could force another fight that, if they played it correctly, should be an inhibitor for them since it's a 4v5. But Xin Zhao is kind of far behind, and it looks like your team is not going to try to fight this before the inhibitor is already down. So because you guys went for this tower, it took too long, and you were already on this side of the map. Like, they're coming from the fountain. They're coming from the fountain. All they have to do is go where this area is right here, right? But if you guys were at Baron, in order for them to get there and kill you, they would have to run like almost twice the distance to get to that spot. So you'd have that much more time to finish Baron and recall. But you guys had to go really far down on their side of the map, and they have highly mobile champions to begin with. So they have low death timers. Going for that second tower was probably a mistake. And by that I mean it was a mistake because you guys couldn't get out of there in time. I wouldn't have even gone for that tower if I knew Baron wasn't on the table. It was just too risky because their death timers are too low and they have highly mobile champions. Home guarding out of their base, and you're tanking a second tower. It just doesn't spell things well. But if you guys got that Baron, oh, you guys would be sitting in a great position because it'd be taken off the table. You guys could farm in safety bottom lane, and you could ward up, and you just feel good about your team at that point in time because you would have access to just like let the game kind of progress. But now you feel like you're being pressured, and you're kind of choking because they have your inhibitor now. And once you're down an inhibitor, if that Baron is still on the table, then the enemy team, all they have to do is understand they need one pink ward on Baron and kind of clear the wards out around it. And you guys will be forced to leave your base to come fight them. But someone has to eventually come back and clear those minions. So they would just have to wait for someone on your team to recall to clear those minions, or they're going to get your base turrets. Or if you're, if one of your teammates go back, you can't defend Baron 4v5 safely when you're behind. So there are a lot of things both teams this game could have done better. And I don't know. Honestly, when the blue side got wiped at the inhibitor, that was really unexpected. But that was like such an epic misplay by them. Like Xin Zhao and Warwick were almost like fully offensive at that point, and they just were, I don't know, they were playing like they were full tanks. Okay, here's another situation where wow, both teams are out of position. Ziggs is off wave clearing. Caitlyn's not there. The enemy team is just trying to zerg you guys. You're landing an ultimate to peel. This is actually a pretty good ult because you're stunning Warwick and you're zoning the Cassidy. So two of them were taken out of the fight briefly. Jinx ult here, one auto attack, should be Warwick dead. One auto attack. Okay, ignite goes off. Who ignited? Riven did not need to ignite that. Jinx's auto attack was going to clear that. Jinx kiting. Oh, man. Jinx is doing a good job. Riven flash auto attack. Riven was going back in. All right. Riven should have just continued to run back.
I get exhausted again.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with their exhaust, but they keep using exhaust on you when there's like Kha'Zix standing right there. Man. Oh man. Okay, so you guys are winning this fight quite handily as well. If this Zap had hit, that would have been just a faster kill on the Caitlyn, and the heal goes off by the Caitlyn, so Nidalee's going to get away for sure. Caitlyn throws down a trap. Good flash binding by you. You just want to secure this. Once again, 4 of them are dead. Their support's the only one alive. 4 out of 5 of you guys are alive. You guys aren't in the healthiest standings, but man, oh man,
yeah,
I would call for Baron again. Like, I know, you just really aren't that afraid of a Nidalee support at this point, especially after the remake. If she gets close enough, you hit her with a binding, stuff like that. But yeah, another situation where you guys won that fight. I think the enemy team misplayed it again, and the gold is in your team has taken the gold lead again. After taking that tower, you guys were briefly in the lead, but when they took that inhibitor, they took the lead back. You guys are in the lead now. So what should you do as a support right now? Well, for one thing, Dragon is up. Dragon is up right now. Instead of, going ham on these minions, let it push out a little bit. Maybe let Ziggs just handle that while you guys go do Dragon. At the very least, you guys should secure this Dragon before they come back up. Another thing you should do as a support right now, you should ward up Baron and the areas around it. You want to get intel when they're thinking about doing Baron. You want to get intel when they're just thinking about warding Baron. When they're just going into the jungle, you want to have intel. This is a great time for you to get some more offensive wards. Since you guys have taken the lead now, you might not know what the goal difference is, but you guys have the kill lead now, and most of the time that means you have the gold lead. Now is a good time where you could go in here and you could ward there, you could go ward there. If you didn't feel comfortable going over there, you could just ward here, there. Basically, you get the gist. Like, you get wards like in an even place, in a place different than where you were warding earlier defensively, because you guys can now start playing a little bit further out. And warding should really reflect how you're doing in the game.
Yeah, at this point, it still felt like you were miles behind for some reason.
Well, I mean, it's mostly due to the fact that Jinx has all your kills, she is your team right now. She's doing a great job of kiting. The rest of your team is very far behind in items, very, very far. Their Caitlyn is really far behind. She only has Infinity Edge and Zeal. Both AD carries have pretty lacking CS for this late in the game, but this really this happens a lot when the teams are just kind of clashing into each other, and when Baron's still on the table, both teams usually are afraid to farm bottom, so that means there's one less lane to farm, and you're gonna get caught here. You're dead. Like, I don't think there's any way you can get out of this, because Gaston will just run you down. Even if you were to have flash, like, Caitlyn will just ult here. So you're a little bit out of position. I think this is the second time this game you kind of got caught out mid game. The first time mid game was when you guys were pushing this tower, then after they caught you and they got the inhibitor after. Now this time the enemy team feels comfortable doing Baron. Now they weren't actually, like, the thing to note is, like, they didn't have their full numbers while they're doing Baron, so like I said, you should have warded up Baron when you guys had the chance, because if they were doing it as 3, and if your teammates had seen them doing it as 3, maybe they would be in different positions. Like, maybe Riven would not have gone bottom and Kha'Zix would have gone in to try to steal it. You just want to give your team as much information as possible, because Caitlyn and Kassadin were, like, chasing you, but of course you might not have been in that position if you had seen them doing Baron and stuff like that. But like I said, you got to keep that Baron warded. You don't want to let them sneak a Baron on you. So yeah, I think that was mostly just lack of vision coverage, but really make sure as support you keep that Baron warded, because now the game is in their lead now. They have Baron buff, which is something that I consider more than the 6th man, because each person on their team is going to be worth way more gold in terms of the items they have, because of the buff that Baron buff gives. So it's just everyone on their team is, like, on steroids. They're just, like, way stronger. It's really easy to siege when you have Baron buff. The buff of Baron is designed to help that team in the game. They have health regen, they have more damage. All around, it's just trying to allow them to break the siege. You guys are taking a little bit of poke, but it's so much harder to fight a team with Baron buff under your turret than a team that doesn't. So, yeah. They're just diving into your base. This is exposed. Like, they got the Baron. You have to give up this inhibitor. If you fight without a tower here, it will be a wipe. Even with the enemy team making a critical mistake like they did in the last couple of fights, I think they could still maybe come out on top because they have Baron buff. But I don't know what they're doing. This is like them being out of position. If your team was like organized right now, you just go for the pick right here. Like if you had like high burst or something like that, you would just go for the pick right there. But you guys don't really have. You're not really grouped up like safely right now. If your team is more on this side and you like hit a binding, yeah, that would be a kill. But your team is like really split up, and it's really dangerous to be this split up. You guys are like all like kind of in a line, and that's just not what you should be aiming to do. Unless the enemy team has like stupid amount of like AoE crowd control, like a Leona with the Ziggs on the same team with a Malphite and like an like an Orianna support. Yeah, you get the picture. Like a team that's just so ludicrously stacked with crowd control and stuff like that. You want to utilize just being a unit. And you guys were doing that earlier into the game when you were defending this first inhibitor. All 5 of you were picking out the first 2 in the front line and just kind of working your way out. But right here, both teams are split up, and the enemy team, they're just, man, they should get punished for this, but because they have Baron, you can't really go in. But Zin's on one side, Caitlyn's like down. Oh, and Ziggs steps on the trap. This is Ziggs dead. They don't go for it? Okay, alright. So,
seems like.
Alright. I'm just, I'm like 1 for 3 today with calling things. Like, Ziggs steps on a trap, that half HP Ziggs. If that's not like a flash Warwick ult, that's like Kassadin and I don't know. That's just them like using abilities to kill your one person that can clear effectively. But they don't take that opportunity to kill Ziggs, and they're finally grouped up around top. It's just when they're in your base and they're all split up like that, they have like a wall that's like trapping them in your base almost if you fight a team fight correctly. Because the terrain really does come into play in team fights. Because if they wanted to escape when they're along this wall, they have to flash over the wall. Some of them will do that. Some of them will run down. They're just going to be split up. Not sure what they're doing. They see like 2 of you guys like farming out here. No, don't do that. That's a big no-no because no tower here. You got to utilize that tower. Like if an all-in fight's going to happen for you guys to come back this game, it's going to be like under this turret or under your base turrets. You have to, because they have Baron, like you just flat out can't fight them anymore, unless they prove me wrong once again. But we'll see. What are they doing? They like it is ridiculously hard to like siege 2 turrets, or I mean it's hard to siege 1 turret. So sieging 2 turrets, especially the strongest turrets in the game almost, is just a big no-no. So I don't know what they're doing. They're like walking out here like trying to siege your Nexus. No, it's much easier just to take 2 inhibitors and then like look to end the game from 2 inhibitors because you'll have enough super minions to tank the Nexus turrets, or just once you take 2 inhibitors, just take the 3rd. So the enemy team is like kind of wasting time right now. They have Baron buff and they're just, I don't know, why is Ziggs getting so close? I mean, I know you have Black Shield, but like...
I can't do anything against Warwick, because I don't know before.
Well, your Black Shield will stop Warwick ult. If you Black Shield...
Yeah, but I have to Black Shield him before Warwick ults.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
If he's
like,
too close.
yeah. You'd have to be like... You have to do it before, or like predict it. That's why I'm just like, why is Ziggs so far out? It is possible that Warwick's just like, hey, I don't want to use my ult because Morgana could just block it immediately, and I don't want that to happen. But yeah, it's like you could just walk close randomly and wait for Morgana to bait Black Shield. Decent Ziggs ult hit multiple targets, but you guys are getting outpoked and they have Baron buff. Baron buff is just, and they're finally casting in decides to go in on Ziggs. There's the old, your 14-3 Jinx instantly dead by their assassins. That's why 80 carries are so hit or miss in solo queue. Because if they get like 2 fed assassins, it doesn't mean it doesn't really matter if you're double lift. If they have like a huge item lead on everyone else in your team, they can just like hop on you and instantly kill you if you don't have like amazing peel. And so they end up just pushing down the mid. The fight was really around. The majority of this fight was just in the center of your base. Wait, how far back did I go? Wait, what just happened? The game just. What just happened? The game just froze. All right, so this client just. I don't know. Law Recorder is not being okay with me today. But yeah, this is another. Oh my God, game announcer on Turret Dive Purple Unknown. So yeah, OP.GG or Baron Replay. Law Recorder has issues. So to summarize this game, I think you played. I think you played really well during laning phase. There were a couple times, like I said, where you could have punished Nidalee a little bit more. You and the Jinx really did crush their bottom lane, but your teammates were really far behind. And the one time that you guys gave a kill to Cassidy and Zen, it didn't really help. So in mid game, you got caught twice. That resulted in them getting an inhibitor and Baron. And you got to make sure you ward that Baron. Mid game, even after you win a team fight like that, if you can't take Baron, make sure you have control of Baron. Because if you see them around Baron clearing out your wards, they're at the very least thinking about doing Baron, and you have a heads up. But if you have no vision at all around Baron, they can sneak it that late in the game. Because you can like 2-man it, if not solo it, on some champions that late in the game. But in this circumstance, I think Xin Zhao and Warwick actually could have 2-manned it, but they were 3-manning it. And but yeah, I mean it's some good stuff. Like your bindings were really impressive on Morgana. You were hitting like max range bindings and flash bindings and stuff like that. So it's pretty well played. Do you have any questions?
What do you think it's the better mastery on supports, the recall time or the trinket cast range?
I prefer the recall time, and I'll explain why. When I don't play with the recall timer mastery, I always cut it too close. You can see really experienced players like recall, like when people are coming towards them, and in the last like half second of the recall, if they hit you with damage, usually it won't cancel it. And I think they might have changed it a little bit, so it might be less than half a second now. But basically you can time it so even if you're getting surrounded by your opponents and you get that recall almost off, you get out of there. So I really do like the I like the reduced timer and the recall. I think it is very, very important to have if you're used to playing with it, and if you have improved recall, it can allow you to do some things that you normally wouldn't, like recalling in really bad situations and getting out. And the ward trinket one, I don't know. Like early game, it might be able to help you out a little bit, but for the most part, I just you're gonna swap with the warding totem anyways, and you're not gonna get the blue trinket, or the blue trinket would only be really useful like super late game, but for the most part, being able to clear out those wards is still gonna be more beneficial by having the sweeper / oracle lens. So late game, I still think it's better to keep the oracle lens / sweeper than to switch to the blue trinket. But some pro teams have used the blue trinket later into the game to scout Baron without having to get close to ward it.
And what would you pick against Morgana? Because that's just totally my weak point. I'm pretty good with Morgana, but if she gets picked away from me, I'm practically screwed.
Karma and Sona and even Lulu, they're all really pretty good against Morgana. I personally think Sona's really easy to play against Morgana in my experience. If you do get hit by binding, like you're in danger of dying. But how the lane works is it's just like you can almost always out sustain and out damage and out poke the Morgana and whoever their AD carry is as Sona. Like Sona is really, really good. She just has a lot of vulnerabilities against kill lanes, so you don't want to early pick her. Because if you pick Sona and they end up picking Leona, you're going to have a bad time. Because even if you can poke Leona all day, if Leona lands like one combo on you with a powerful AD carry, you're going to get 100 to 0'd. But with Morgana as Sona, you can usually always just stay behind the minion wave and poke her. Karma, the same thing. You use your superior poke in terms of damage, and you use your shield to dodge the bindings. Personally, I just like playing Sona because it's just an easier lane matchup for me, because normally I'm really good at dodging the bindings anyways, so I can just brute force the Morgana and their laner using my heals and the poke. Because Sona poke damage is very, very high, and it's almost guaranteed. If you're, if they're in the range of your Q and your auto attack, you're gonna do a lot of damage. Lulu, same thing. Speed yourself up. You can dodge the bindings if you have to. You've got a shield. You've got more poke than Morgana. So really, the key to beating Morgana is just poke / sustain.
Speaking of Sona, when do you skill the speed up of Sona?
Depends. Most of the time, I don't skill it up to like level 8. but sometimes early game there will be some situations where you don't need the sustain, and you're maxing your Q first, obviously. But sometimes when you're just stomping lanes so hard on Sona that you don't need your W, I'll take it at level 4, and you still want 1 point in your W just to top yourself off every once in a while when you're stomping lane. But yeah, when you're ahead and you're just winning by a huge margin that you don't need to constantly have like a level 2 heal, then that's when you want to take your speed up and then like use it with your passive to slow them and all-ins and stuff like that. But yeah, but if you're in a lane that's like even, I probably wouldn't take the speed up until like level 8.
Yeah.
So basically, was this game really oriented around Baron, or was there anything that Phil's team could have done better in order, like, to secure a more even ground mid game?
They should have just done Baron. That's really what it comes down to. That's a sad truth. In a lot of circumstances, what would set like, what would really separate a gold from a diamond player here, the diamond team would have just done Baron. Like they would have just done Baron, and I think, Phil, honestly, I think your team would have won if you guys got Baron there. Like, not like because you guys wouldn't have just like pushed down mid and won, but I think if the game reached late enough, you guys probably would have been in a way better standing. And I think you guys had a better team composition than they did. Like, Xin Zhao's going to fall off. Warwick, he's going to have a hard time dealing with Morgana Black Shield if all he's trying to do is ult this Jinx all game. Ziggs, amazing wave clear, one of the best mid laners in the game right now. You guys had a solid team composition. Riven, damage late game even gets more scary. I think their team composition was pretty decent, but it wasn't like, oh, if it hits 50 minutes, we're going to lose. If you guys got Baron there, I think the gold probably would have progressively gotten more even on your team. And the later the game goes, the more situational it gets. Like, who knows? Like, you guys could have gotten Baron there and kept on doing well, and then one team fight, you guys mess up and lose. That happens. But I think if you got that Baron after that first wipe when they're on your inhibitor, and even the second time when you guys killed them and you killed 4 of them and Nidalee was still alive, if you guys had done Baron at one or two of those points, then that just takes Baron off the table, and that once again opens up all 3 lanes. Because unless you guys have a teleport, that bottom lane cannot really be fully utilized, because whoever goes bottom, the opposing team will just be like, hey, let's force a 4v5 on Baron right now. But once you get that Baron off the table, it's like, hey, we can farm all 3 lanes again. And then even if you have Baron, you don't have to fight. You can just keep on farming and gain some ground again.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, the thing to keep in mind, like, what division are you in gold right now?
I'm gold 5.
Gold 5. Okay. The thing you should be trying to work on, you should ideally be trying to improve your playstyle to that of a platinum support. And the way you can do that, you've got, okay, the thing to keep in mind is I can always tell when a player has mechanical skill, or like I can determine like if their mechanical skill is holding them back, or like the decisions that they're making. And and luckily in your circumstance, your mechanical skill is not what's holding you back. I think you've got potentially the mechanical skill of a platinum player right now, but I think right now your game knowledge / decision making is what's holding you back. And that's a good thing, because you can't teach mechanical skill. That's just flat out something you really can't teach. I can tell you what to do, but unless you can move your fingers fast enough / hit skill shots, which is something that is almost impossible to directly teach, because it's just something that the individual has to learn how to do themselves. You can tell them the 1v1, you can practice and stuff like that, but the only thing I can really teach and talk to you about is the decision making that you make in a game and the outcome of it. And because I feel like that's what's like, that's what's keeping you at where you are right now, I think your decision making is probably that of a gold player, and that's your weakest point right now. But that's not a bad thing. Like I said, mechanical skills the thing that you can't teach, and it is really easy to learn the game knowledge side of League of Legends. It just takes some time. But if you adjust to these things, if you're making sure you're consistently warding the right places, and you encourage your team to make the right calls when you can, and when you're winning bottom, you rotate sooner and stuff like that. Those are the small little tweaks that when you do it, suddenly you're just like, bam, platinum player. Like, it'll just be like, within a month, it's just like, bam, you're a platinum player. But, you know, you have to actively start working towards breaking those bad habits that you have. Because, you know, just like forgetting to ward and stuff like that, I consider that a bad habit. And a lot of players, even support mains, have that. Like, they get caught up in the moment of the team fight, and then, like, afterwards, it's just like your adrenaline's still going, and it's hard to immediately switch to, you know, the other status of support of just being, like, warding the right places, clearing the right wards in the right places, stuff like that.
Nice. That's it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys don't have any more questions.
I
don't.
think I'm good.
Cool. All right.